Oh, there we go. All right, can y'all hear me? It says I'm live. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I don't know. That was weird for me for a bit here. I'll put a chart in the corner because everybody likes to have a little bit of chart. There we go. Let's hide this. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, so this today. Yeah. Actually, I mean, a very interesting day for me as far as some of the things I was looking at. I want to break down what I was seeing going on throughout the day, as well as some of the things that I was looking at throughout this period. We'll let a few people pop in, have a little coffee, talk to you guys for a bit. How'd everybody's Friday go? You guys do fun Friday things? Do people do fun Friday things? This is my fun Friday thing, is what I do. Diaper King. That's a new name. I haven't seen Diaper King in the chat before. What's up, dog? Master Chief. Taking this fight to the covenant. Yeah, I don't know, man. I was just in a really good mood for, whatever reason. I think what put me in a really good mood was just like, had some new indicators, had some new stuff to play with, had some new stuff to potentially get another sort of some more insight into the stock, into what's going on with GameStop. And it proved, some of this proved to be not nonsense. So I'll walk you through a little bit of this in a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was just feeling that, and then we get some novelty stuff. Yeah, Diaper King, that's part of it. Some of Ultimator's indicators, although his stuff got banned. Did you see? All his stuff got taken down from TraderView. It's all gone. It's all gone. Maybe he'll get it back up. But like they took it after a day, dude. After a day. It's down. You can't get it. Did he post it again? Yeah, because it worked instantly. Okay, he's re-releasing tonight. Yeah, definitely. I mean, can I pop his profile in the chat? I'll just pop his profile in the chat. How can I share? Yeah, I can do this. Oh, no. There we go. That's what I want. So it's here in the chat. It's over on the last two videos I did. Yeah. Bottom Finder and the Swapinator. He's also got some other stuff he was working on, but those are the two that are out. And Bottom Finder is pretty good. Bottom Finder was pretty good. At least so much is what I found. He was also piloting it because like this is it, right? We can talk about his stuff for a little bit before we get into the price action today. Yeah, because this was yesterday's stuff. Really, where his stuff kind of came in for me. So let me pop over to a different screen here. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, I like Eric Stream too. He's got a lot of good insight into trading. like actually like, nuts and bolts of how to do that all the time in lots of different ways. So, okay. So I don't know exactly how um can I put these up on the screen? No, I can't. Why can't I do that? Yeah, for some reason like StreamYard's not working for me. Oh, I can put users in timeout. That's hilarious. Yeah. That's okay. Y'all can see it in there. Whenever I get, yeah, whatever StreamYard, which is my platform, sometimes it just like doesn't work. I don't know why, but it wouldn't let me set up my usual setup for this. So I'm just going directly through YouTube. But yeah, okay, let's talk about Swapinator stuff for a little bit, or Ultimator. So we'll talk about the Swapinator and Bottom Finder and whatnot. So part of this is like he designed these, he like tuned this stuff to specific time frames. But he also is I think trying to find out, like trying to test it, kind of put it out there and see how it works on different time frames as well. So one of the time frames that he didn't advertise was like the 1 hour or 30-minute or something like that. And so when he releases, I was just poking around with this, sort of back testing this stuff. So it's the one on the bottom here. And then up at the top with this plus DI comparison, it says current stock versus IWM. This is the Swapinator. So this is meant to find and detect swap activity, which is very interesting. And it looks like Bottom Finder here is pretty heavily correlated with swap activity. So the two of these indicators are attuned to, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he's able to track that stuff. But one second. Open crap. Cheers, guys. Didn't have time to make myself breakfast this morning. So now I have a smoothie. So in case you're curious, no, I'm not in prison. Yeah, cheers, guys. Yeah, so I don't know how he gets, like, how he's actually able to detect what's going on with the swaps. But that's apparently what's driving this. So basically what I just looked at earlier this week, and I said, okay, like, is this just nothing or is it something? Like, how does this work? So obviously we had this one right here, which is what I was looking at. And I was like, oh, that looks very interesting. I specifically was looking at it on the 1 hour. And it was big. This thing, very big, very big, very big. We had one back here, much smaller, also popped up on the Bottom Finder. I wish we could get these to go away. There we go. Right, this one also popped up on the Bottom Finder. Next day, we got this thing, right? Poppity pop off right here. So we got this move, small signal. It doesn't necessarily look like the size of the signal is like correlates to the size of the price action. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it does. Maybe we see, this was my other thought. Like, I wondered to what degree we just haven't seen this move fully play out yet. Because this one, next day, pop. This one, next day, pop, but not as much. This one, not next day. It was 1, 2, and then, yeah, so this one was 2 days, and then on the third day is when we got the pop here. So I saw this stuff and I was like, okay, how's this going to look? Obviously need to test it a bit more. And of course it lines up here pretty well with what he's got with the Bottom Finder. Now for the swap stuff, what he said was he optimized it for 1 day for the actual swap activity detection stuff. But then yesterday he posted when he saw this activity and why we dipped is he said swaps. So it must work on other time frames. He's just not 100% ready to kind of disclose. he doesn't want to give too many hints as to how that's going to work. But anyway, I'm looking forward to continuing to try these out, to sort of see how this goes forward. He also is starting to do stuff with these over on the 1 minute. So where do we have? Bump down to the 1 minute here. Where we didn't get much here. Oh, we did get a little bit, right? So here's the swap thing. We did get some alerts here, but I don't know how well this is going to work. But this one, is supposed to find local bottoms on the 1 minute. This one, not so much. These are kind of weak signals. This one, kind of. 10-cent reversal. It's not nothing. This one, I mean, if you're using it on the 1 minute, maybe you can get like, some quick scalpy stuff. But I don't know. This one, definitely the 1 minute, I think need to spend some more time with this to try to gauge it. But yeah, check this stuff out. Like, I would recommend, especially on some of these time frames, like, don't really, and he says this too, like, really try, like, look at these, just watch these, don't instantly be like, oh, it's gonna work, right? Because part of it is, it's like, okay, what does it really predict? Does it predict that the next day it's going to go up by 20% if we're looking at the 1 hour? Does it predict that in the next 5 minutes it's going to go up 3%? Like, what are these actual time frames? Like, okay, bottom, and the idea is somehow within a few minutes, if you're on the 1 minute chart, the price is going to be higher after that. But how much higher? What is that actually going to look like? Is it going to go quickly? Is it going to go slowly? Does it measure those things? What if it lines up with the swap thing? Does that matter? Right. So there are lots of questions as to, like, okay, if you're actually trying to think about how to design a trading approach around this stuff, like, you have to put it out there and you have to test with it, just like you would any other indicator, right? So just like I've done with, like, the gamma stuff that I look at, right? Gamma exposure, just like I do with these, like with, technical indicators that I use otherwise. If you're doing with this RSI or something like that, you have to make sure you do some of that. So, but yeah. Hello, David. Cheers to you. Size of signal correlating with how imminent a move is. Yeah. Yeah. But of course it will depend, right? What is what is that move? Can we kind of get a sense of what the indicator can predict, or what we can, what are kind of the probabilities? Oh, okay, if I see like the red pop up, like, what kind of probability is that? Is that like 80%? Is that 90%? Is that 70%? If I just see kind of orange, is that like 25? OMG plop. Yeah, so I would say, like, as far as what's indicated here with the bottom finder, it specifically is supposed to find the bottom. So it doesn't show, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't show strength of anything. In fact, the higher it goes, the idea is the deeper down you're going. So like this one, yeah, I would not say it's particularly well tuned on the 1 minute in one of these down days. And what we did get yesterday, as far as, let me kind of condense this so we can see the day as a whole here. So I've also started to watch and started to incorporate some of Roaring Kitty's price momentum oscillator. So Roaring Kitty, the Roaring Kittinger charts on one of them have something called a price momentum oscillator. And I suppose what I'm trying to think about here is, okay, how is Roaring Kitty necessarily, how is he using these this momentum oscillator on these time frames? Is he using this to time? He has to. It has to be important for him, insofar as trying to figure out when to time his trades. And one thing that I was looking for in particular, so actually I'll bring up the indicator here for you guys. Right, so actually this one we don't need to look at. This just helps me see stuff. It's this one, right? So looking at these types of like crosses, we can like use this, ideally how this is supposed to work is it's supposed to be able to show you, help you better visualize when you're having shifts in momentum. So I haven't done too much with it in terms of like posting on content because I just haven't spent that much time with it to be able to say with much conviction, like, oh, okay, now this is going to happen, now this is going to happen, now this is going to happen. But what I wanted to do, it kind of looks like it makes sense in hindsight, but how do you actually navigate that going forward? Like when you see X, Y, or Z, like when you see these like types of crosses, does that, to what extent does that indicate that you're going to have a reversal? How frequently does that occur? Does that lag by a few seconds or something that? So what was interesting to me is going into today, we were actually looking pretty good out on some of our our broader time frame charts. So we looked like, for example, on our 1 minute here. Right, if we think like, okay, usually when we get these crosses, it signals, a momentum shift. So obviously it can kind of grind here, and they can stay sort of crossing, uncrossing, crossing, uncrossing. And what you kind of want to see, I guess, what a bullish configuration of this looks like is you've got the two PMO lines are over the blue signal line here, and then super bullish is they're up, they're going up, they're all stacked on top of each other, just like right, we would look at our moving averages. We've got the blue line is moving up, and then we have everything over the zero line. So our situation here is blue line is still over the zero line, slightly curling down over on our daily chart. White line, orange line moved down, but they've started to curl up. And interestingly, yesterday, what kind of got me interested was just prior to yesterday's open, or at yesterday's open, white line was actually crossing, right? We looked like we were going to get this kind of cross here and then potentially start moving back to the upside, right? Look something maybe like this, start moving this way. So I saw that developing. If we bump down to the 4-hour, right, the 4-hour was looking pretty good in terms of we were getting a cross up here. It looked like blue line was going to keep moving towards zero line here. So stuff looked pretty good at these kind of upper registers. 2-hour, we had just gotten across the previous day. 1-hour, also, yeah, we were bullish, but we were kind of, actually, yeah, we had gotten two crosses overnight, and pretty good chance for blue line to kind of curl up and then maybe come across the zero line here. So what I was looking at very early in the day, was, we had some pretty good signals as far as it looked early like we were building and sustaining some pretty decent upward momentum. Obviously, we had this, but then after we kind of cooled off here and sat on top of the 27 position, right, we started to build some momentum here into, it looks like these were the computer share buys right in this cluster. Started to build up into here. And I was saying, okay, well, what we want to see theoretically, right? If we can use this indicator as a predictor of continued strength, then what we should see is we should continue to see basically at these next levels, at these kind of stacking levels of momentum, that we should see progressive crosses. We should see kind of continual bullish signals in the way these lines are moving. So basically up through here, okay, 1 minute cooled off a little bit, but then right 55 moving average started to curl, started to move up again. It crossed the 0 line here. Things are looking good on the 1 minute. Okay, but what if we bump up? 5 minute after our cool off here? Right, okay, here, a little bit bearish, but then right in here, 5 minute looking, how can I broaden this up a little bit? Yeah, there you go. Now you can see it. Right, just about here, getting across on the 5 minute. So white 5 minute starts to cross, avoid going down across the 0 line. Looks like just about here, we're headed for a cross of the blue line here. That's another bullish cross. Let's bump up to 15 minutes after our computer share buys. Okay. 15 minutes after our computer share buys. Coming up, cross. Looks like this is evening out. Everything's above the 0 line. Looks like maybe we're going to head maybe sometime, right, mid-afternoon here. We head back up, we even out, we get across something like that. And then 30 minute. This is what I had my eye on. Right at this candle, right? So right when this candle was about to form, we had pretty decent bullish momentum up on up what our PMO lines are doing here. We have blue line moving up. In fact, it is still moving up. It's kind of just starting to curl and even out. So you know, maybe we do get some momentum rescued on we kind of reverse on Monday, something like that. But heading into this candle, it was like, oh, okay, this is it. Like, if we get kind of the 30 to connect here, then basically everything up from the 1 minute all the way to about the day is basically going to be showing bullish crosses of some sort, bullish momentum of some kind, right up until this candle, right? And so for a very brief second, we had this blue line cross here, right? Blue line crossing the 0 line. And then we popped up really quick, right before it turned 12. And then right at noon, we just started dumping. So to a certain extent, I wonder if this is also being measured or being inspected by institutions who wanted to keep the price controlled and specifically looked at maybe that as being something of a link, and then decided to just start shorting the stock super hard, which they did, right? 1145, right? Even here, right? We kind of evened out, still stayed kind of supported up here right up until 12. And then within a few minutes, huge short volume. And then we just get this basically into the end of the day. Some other things occurred. Let me share my Thinkorswim platform here. Oh, no. Thinkorswim, where have you gone? What? This is very frustrating. Why can I not? There we go. I don't know why that happened. Right. So this was clearly stimulated. This was direct shorting. What we got kind of dogpiling on top of this right here was if you guys had a chance to check out that specific order flow rerouting thing that I pointed out, I mean, that ended up effectively being like a short. So that was strategic going and doing a direct short at that point on the stock, but rerouting order flow so that the way that the market maker hedged that particular trade, this particularly large options trade, ended up resulting in something that was like a several 100,000 share, or not several 100,000, over 100,000 shares short, something like that, or at least close to that. And then Adashas also or Adas Has you Adashas pointing out here that yeah, then SPY went ahead and just kicked its right, flipped its volatility trigger. So yeah, just this. Why a conspiracy theorist would say maybe this was done to prevent this powder keg on GameStop from going off. Not sure. Maybe that basically what I talked about is looking like, we were having a lack of optimism heading out of the month, right? Because the very next week, Friday, that started to look predominantly bearish despite our trading conditions up in positive gamma territory. Today, we had a lot of call gamma expiring today, very biased in terms of calls. Maybe that was a market making trick or something to drive a lot of these calls out of the money. Not sure exactly why this occurred, but it did occur, and that again, based on SPY specifically going ahead and crossing the volatility trigger, right? We weren't gonna, and then we did, right? So we got kind of right on top of it, hesitated, recovered a little bit, and then right here, whoop. And you can see, right when we crossed that level, it's like, oh, okay, we're going down, and we go down very quickly, very sharply whenever we cross that level, and then we hit 599. We cross right below 600, and then look, this was that key level that I've highlighted back from all of these different dips, and then we just continue to hang out, and then scrub a dub into the close, and there we are still. So that's what happened yesterday, and it certainly prevented anything like that powder keg situation from going off. But maybe we get something heading into. Maybe we get something still heading into Monday. All right, let's bump out a little bit. Zoom in here. Right, so yeah, just we ended up kind of right at the bottom here of this regression subchannel. A lot of options out of the money. Maybe we just come right back down here to like 25.70 pre-market off the open on Monday, and then chow, something like that. Wouldn't surprise me. What was very interesting and what sort of makes me question the degree to which this this potential upward volatility is still on the table into Monday is that our IV climbed and didn't come down. See that? Like we opened up at close to 84 after bottoming down around 79. It's just been climbing here. And then despite the fact we traded down, and yeah, it did go down throughout the day, it never dipped below 80. And then into the close, it bumped back up to, yeah, almost 83 as far as Schwab is reporting it. So, right, usually that says that that type of relationship to our IV says something like we are at a slight, or market makers are at a slightly greater risk with respect to their hedging activities, with their market making strategies when IV is higher. Like that's when they let it kind of go up. The idea is of IV is it's supposed to add in a pricing dynamic that reflects the market maker's risk to continue to service their role as market maker. So when you see implied volatility go up, that's supposed to reflect when the market maker is at greater risk. So if we're at 26.42 in the close, but our IV is somehow higher than it was like last week when we were basically at the same price, that's suggesting that under the present conditions, the market maker is at, greater risk of exposure. That's supposed to be like, that's the idea behind that particular metric. So why is that the case? Not sure. Heading into Monday, maybe we continue to see the rest of this move, right? If this was really kind of, finger on the scales kind of thing, maybe as soon as it comes off on Monday and these options aren't at risk of going in the Monday, it just kind of pops back up again. Could be something like that. Could be something like that. So let's see what we got in the chat. Which day do you mean, Guido? Not sure. Libertine, how are you doing today? Oh, Guido, do you mean what I was talking about in my earlier video today on the September 20th event? Oh, like the order flow rerouting thing? We can talk through that. Okay. Let me hop over to my X profile here. Yeah, so I've seen this pop up a couple times. Yeah. So let's talk about exactly what happened. Kudos, of course, right to everybody who put this in front of me. This is actually part of the great thing about like having X and like having friends and stuff to do this with, right? Because like you don't always have to be combing every site all the time. Like you do everything solo. You got to remember to just like constantly refresh certain things. But you're like, all right, I'll look at this data. And then some other people who can't necessarily look at the data that I look at, they can refresh what's coming up on X, or they can refresh what's coming up on Super Stonk and stuff. And they can just be like, hey, did you see this? And then, I can say, okay, I understand what's happening. So kudos. I think Tom is the one pointed this out to me. Mr. Skint. So yeah, let's talk about what this is. So, right, this, I think it's Reese or something. Reese Politics originally put this up on or this screen on X. And yeah, Tom had a great question for me, which is, right, why is this blacked out? And this is blacked out because it is a none side trade. So, or sometimes it's a none side trade. Sorry, sometimes it's a none side trade. But the ones that are blacked out, the bid or the ask isn't, for whatever reason, it's not recorded at this particular exchange. Sometimes it's a none side trade. Usually, what that means when you see the really big ones come in like this, if you see no side and it shows up here, it's part of an options hedge. So none side trades, like you'll see these come in through Chicago. At least they're reported as none side trades over on over on Unusual Whales. They come in as like the trader is hedging their own position. So the trader is building a fully hedged position themselves. So in this case, I wanted to go check that. So I said, okay, let me go over to Unusual Whales and see what we're looking at here. So saw, okay, 112,900 shares. Oh, let's see, what's this? 1,129 contracts times 100. That's 112,900, right? So that share order came in as a hedge for this. This is a January 2027 short call trade. So let's see. This trader looks to have wanted to have been perfectly hedged on this trade. So didn't delta hedge it, didn't gamma hedge it. It's not a dynamic. So right, that trader does not have access to, like, the advanced market making methods of hedging. 35. Yeah, the delta on these is only 62 at present. So that would have only required 62%. To be perfectly delta hedged would have only required 62%. This trader went ahead and went with a perfect hedge, which was to essentially do this as a covered call trade, right? So do this as a covered call, but enter the share trade when, like, right when the calls were sold. Okay, so what did that mean? That meant that the trader had to purchase 112,900 shares. That would have been a lot of ask volume that would have hit the lit market. So whoever was in charge of routing this order flow just didn't do that. That's not what happened. So what we got was, okay, call sale came in. The options market maker goes, there's a quote. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take the trade. Options market maker takes the trade, sells 1,129 contracts to this, or buys 1,129 contracts from this individual, and then dynamically hedges those by selling shares. So the delta on these, 62%, meant that this would have been worth about 70,000 shares of selling. So the options market maker then would have instantly shorted 70,000 shares as a result of this trade. That's a decent amount, especially in the low volume environment we were looking at yesterday. We were not, super crazy high volume, anything like that. So 70,000 shares, yeah, that would affect the price. So the seller then, right, immediately then goes, hedges all those, decides to do a perfect hedge. But the equities market maker, which is not the same as the options market maker, the equities market maker then says, I will not hedge this, or I will not allow this trade, this particular hedge, to go and hit the lit market for whatever reason. For whatever reason Citadel might have, because, right, GameStop's equities market maker is Citadel. So Citadel says, we're going to route this to a dark pool. What happens? Supposedly, there just happens to be somebody waiting there with 112,900 shares that says, oh, I'll take the trade, which maybe. But also maybe not. And what Citadel can do is just say, yeah. And then they just put up the order, they fill it, and then they go do their strategic FTD and settlement failure and all that stuff in order to actually deliver on this. But it never hits the lit market. And so what you have is that extra leg, which is, right, so the two sides of the options trades cancel out. And then the hedges, right, there should be essentially, this actually should have resulted in slight bullishness, because the seller of this options contract actually overhedged the position, decided to do a perfect hedge. So there would have been a difference of about 53,000 shares. So this trade as a whole, when it fully came together and went off on the market, should have actually supplied 53,000 shares of buying volume. That's what should have happened. And so that should have made, instead of making the price continue to go down and kind of like act like, a 70,000 share short, it should have acted like 53,000 shares of buying volume. That's what should have happened. Yeah. So now you get how the strategic order flow rerouting thing works. Now, sometime down the road, that volume's got to come back up. But the point is, it didn't happen today when, Citadel for some reason didn't want it to happen. I saw this exact thing happen actually way back. It's good you asked, Guido. Way back on December 4th, I want to say. It was the day before I was banned from Reddit. Actually, let me see if I can find that particular post. That would be December. See, this is a nice thing about having a whole catalog of like articles is, excuse me, I can just go back and look at this stuff. Yeah. Should be here. I guess I was having a silly day that day too. Was it this? No, it would have been the one from 12.5, talking about 12.4. That's what it would have been. Because the actual order flow reroute happened on 12.4. So yeah. You guys like my memes? I had better memes. I swear, I had better memes over on Reddit. Did you guys like my Reddit memes? I miss my Reddit memes. But I like this one. Do you guys like Fallout memes? It's tasty. Let's take a look. All right, little banana break. Yeah, it is this. This one here and here. Big short, keep the price down. Right, because what we were looking at here was basically this kind of clash to see if we would stay within this like bearish and bullish channels that they were kind of asserting themselves against each other. And I pointed this out, right? Over in the dark pool. Somebody had come in. I don't think this was attached to an options trade. But somebody had actually come in midday with 144,000 shares of buying volume. And it was a low volume day. That should have sent us, like basically if we were going to stay in the bullish paradigm, we basically needed to stay above like 25.70. And we got a big short that kind of, or I said 25.70, I meant 27.50. We were staying up here, and then this was clearly, right, we got the volume uptick. This was direct shorting. This was tactical shorting to push us through this level and get us trapped down here so that we would trade down and then possibly trade down the next day. Set that up. So that's what we got here. And then right around here, in came a big order for 144,000 shares. That should have been basically, no, it was this candle, I think. It was this. It was right here. It was this candle. It was our biggest single 1 minute candle on the day. And we went nowhere. And what happened was, that was price action on December 4th, Guido. And I wrote about this on December 5th. And I pointed this out. Right, this was the day before Roaring Kitty's Time U cover. 144,000 shares should have sent us back here. It should have, because this was about 100,000 shares of short volume. So it should have sent us back here. And we should have closed like here. But instead, all 144,000 shares hit the dark pool, and not a single of those 144,000 shares affected the price. All we got was this red candle here. This. Supposedly, all that these 144,000 shares did was this. So that's specifically an instance of allowing tactical shorting to come on and hit the lit market. But then when greater or when equal or greater ask volume comes in that would counter this shorting, it gets routed away strategically. 1:45 p.m. was the time you covered. And that was also the day I was banned from Reddit. I was banned after doing this. The day that I published this post was the day that I was banned from Reddit. Yep, I think I was banned at like 11:30 or something, 11:45 a.m. on December 5th. And I published this, half hour before pre-market or half hour before open. Yeah, so that's part of why I remember this in particular. But yeah. So like this stuff, look, I don't necessarily know who to go to with this type of stuff, but like this is very conspicuous. This seems like it would be illegal to me. It seems like seems like market manipulation. But what do I know, right? Yes. So let's see. There's another post that I mentioned a little bit pre-market in my video earlier. See if I can find it here. It had to do with Ryan Cohen mentioning swaps potentially. Where was this? I put it in my post. For today. What's this? Yeah. Oh, watch this get taken down. What, did this get taken down? I swear. These guys are on a tear today. What? No way. Did anybody have a chance to see Solar Moonshot's post on Superstock today? High five. Yeah, welcome. Great to see you, my friend. Yeah, I mean, looks like options dynamic. I don't know that it was necessarily a catalyst. It may have been related to just right some of this bearishness, this pessimism, this kind of apprehension going into March, and maybe that was just triggered early. Not sure exactly, right? Because it just started tearing down, right? Didn't look like any particular catalyst to me, other than options flows started to go that way, and then it was enough to get across the volatility trigger, and then when that volatility trigger got tripped, then we lost that additional $5 down to $5.99. So that looked like just kind of pure options related dynamic to me. The second half of it, the early part, why the volatility trigger got pushed, why it got pushed down so hard, don't know. Somebody built it into their strategy. Yeah, it certainly looked like a catalyst was in effect. A lot of the time it's meant to do that, right? A lot of the time the stuff that looks like catalyst, and this is what I'm saying, even when they say they're a catalyst, this is with the DeepSeek thing, this was with the tariff thing. Was that actually a catalyst? I don't think so. I think that's just the product of rebalancing and then it triggering these options dynamics. Maybe it's all Bank of Japan related. That's the other thing. Maybe all of this is Bank of Japan related. And that's what I'm saying with the March stuff, right? Like, is the March stuff because Trump said stuff about tariffs? Or is it because of fear about the Bank of Japan rate changing again? Because it might. There's expected to be, some analysts are expecting another 25 basis point rate hike. So is this preparation for that, right? Pull the trigger early. These guys are already seeing this, right? Hey, if I'm seeing this is developing, in the next couple weeks, like they already know this. So, but great questions. Yeah, the weakness. Yeah, David, good point. The weakness was there, and kind of, yeah, you could see it building up in March. So it's possible that they just didn't want to wait several days. They just wanted to pull the trigger now. So, but that's a good point. Mason K. Yeah, trying to price that stuff in early potentially. Yeah, I mean that's what we do. That's how human beings. That's how we approach the world, right? We are not like we are rational creatures, but we are rational creatures mostly post factum. It is very difficult. It is very difficult to use reason to predict the future. In fact, you can't ever predict it perfectly. It would take you literally all of the energy in the universe to be able to predict the future perfectly, because of the infinite amount of detail and information it would require in order to do that. Anybody who predicts the future has a good understanding of probabilities. And that's why we're right. When we reason about future outcomes probabilistically. You cannot determine certain futures, but you can envision something general based on probabilities and then put yourself in a position to make a kind of minor course correction to kind of whatever specifics face you. So this is the same thing with ourselves, right? When we do stuff like, oh, hey, why did I get angry? Well, I got angry because this. And you might reason that. And you might say that's definitely why it was. But you don't know that, right? Because none of our knowledge is certain. All of our knowledge is probabilistic. All of our knowledge is sort of layered probabilities in certain, based on memory and experience. And, we use knowledge as a way to successfully navigate in the future, to make good decisions. But making good decisions, right? Making proper actions doesn't actually require that you have a perfectly materially true causal explanation for the things that happen around you. Now, it turns out that the closer you get to that, probably the more accurate your actions can be. But if it requires too much precision, you may have to sacrificing some precision, just like in trading. Sacrificing some precision can make you more accurate, right? So, for example, if you're trying to trade something, let's say you're trying to trade a stock, right? And you're trying to set up a trade. You're like, I think the end of the day, the price is going to close somewhere between 26 and 27. So I will make a trade that says I make money if the price closes below 30. As long as the stock doesn't go to 30, then I win some amount of money. But if you say, I think the stock is going to close at 26.50, so I'll make money if the stock closes at 26.50. If the stock closes at 26.57, you lose. That was a less accurate bet. It was wrong. That's not what happened. Whereas the previous bet was accurate. The stock price did close below 30. You didn't have to be that precise to still win. Whereas the earlier bet, even though it was wrong, was more precise. So that situation works with everything that we do in life and all of the decisions that we make. And most of the time, in fact, actually all of the time, right? Getting the most accurate bet, because all our actions essentially are bets, right? Every action you take is a bet that by doing it, you won't die. But, most of those are pretty easy bets. So we don't even actually register them as bets. We don't think of them that way. So what's important is accuracy. But of course, if precision and accuracy, if you can get your accuracy more precise without sacrificing it, right? The more precision you can have with the more accuracy allows you a greater degree of you essentially have more control, more capability in the world. Same thing in trading, right? If you have Roaring Kitty's level of precision without sacrificing accuracy, that's how you as an individual trader can make $200 million on a single options trade. That's very difficult, right? That's extremely difficult. That guy set that trade up for 3 years. So most of the time, like as far as when we think about things, it's and like, if it's trading, if it's anything we do in the world, accuracy more important than precision. Accuracy is more important than precision. But there is still a meaningful degree of precision in order to actually make the accuracy worthwhile, something like that. Yeah. So it's like usually for us, it's finding that balance to be able to do what we need to do. And we won't look to try to get more precision unless like our model of the sufficiency of the accuracy of what we're doing, right? Because every model that we build of the world, everything that we do, everything that we live, right? We build our models to a sufficient degree of accuracy. And as long as that degree of accuracy gives us everything that we want, we don't push for more precision. And you look at that, right? Not everybody, right? If everybody needed PhD level precision in a topic, everyone would go get PhDs. Everybody would learn that way. But the fact of the matter is, most people's lives do not require precision beyond the accuracy that they have. They are satisfied with the accuracy of their lives. They get everything that they want out of life, that they need out of life, with the accuracy of their sort of low resolution models. They don't push for that degree of precision. So this idea, it's a good quote, right, David? Market moves first, we try to make sense afterwards. The market makes sense to us until it doesn't. And then when we have moves that break our models, then we try to rationalize it post factum, right? In fact, Thomas Kuhn also says stuff about that. Yeah, Thomas Kuhn's Structure of Scientific Revolutions. So, right, we work with knowledge paradigms. We have epistemic paradigms or scientific paradigms, right, if you want to call it. And while that paradigm is functional, while that model is functional, he's actually the one that coined the term paradigm to use to talk about those models. It means example in Greek. It doesn't necessarily mean that, but now we use it to mean something like model. So we work within given models, just like science works within given models. And then, right, we see anomalies. And when we see anomalies, we'll try to rationalize those anomalies. We'll say, oh, how does that already fit the paradigm? Okay, well, it was this, okay, but the paradigm still works. We do that. And we do that until there are so many anomalies that the paradigm doesn't make sense anymore. And then we change the paradigm. We have to change the paradigm. And that changing of the paradigm is a scientific revolution. So we can have that as a society. We can have that in a discipline. We can have that as an individual, right? And people who enter into states of, let's say, excessive dogma or ideological possession are people who refuse to allow a scientific revolution to happen in themselves. There are people who refuse to do that. And they stir themselves up, right? They usually end up being tyrannical people. They're tyrannical with themselves. They kind of permanently live in fear of the world. They're extremely angry. You can't talk to them about anything. They're constantly triggered. Anything you say that might challenge their paradigm, right? They instantly get triggered and then they hate you because they see you as an enemy. Something like that. So very tricky situation to be in. Yeah. Good question. When is the next BOJ rate? Next BOJ rate decision is 18th, 19th. 18th, 19th coming up of March. So we have some time, but that it's possible that's being priced in. It's possible. It actually looked like that's something that's part of what was happening back in maybe some of January. BOJ rate was being priced in. Saggy, that's a good comment. Speaking of good decisions, showing this amount of chest hair when streaming from prison may not be one of. I mean, this is a good prison, man. If they bring you banana shakes, that's all right. I will sacrifice some of my potential autonomy if I get to have banana shakes. I can't help it, man. Yeah. Oh, Guido's got the clock on the BOJ decision. Oh, that's cool. High five. Yeah, I didn't. I was betting to the long side. High five. I thought we'd have the price kind of appreciate decently, and I was prepared to sell calls into that. So yeah, I didn't enter any short positions today, unfortunately. But you know, I still think we have a chance to see something more dynamic on Monday. So that's kind of fun. Ah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, well, that's kind of trading too, right? Even that, right? Even that's a probability. Like you know, it'll do something. Well, things do things all the time, right? It can go up, down, or sideways. But it's like, you know, I think, right? You say like, well, usually these types of wedges break to the upside or the downside. That's, I guess, when you do something like, you know, you see, oh, I've seen this situation before. Sometimes it goes this way, sometimes it goes that way. Not really sure which one. It can kind of go either way, 50-50. It's a coin flip. You make both bets, but you make sure that if it breaks to one side, right? Isn't that like you can do that as like a straddle or something? Yeah. Ooh, good question, Mason. Yeah, potentially buying Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I sort of think this might be a Kansas City shuffle type situation. Um, I think I think I've mentioned my basically what I think the potential is for PSA and blockchain and how that might play in. Um, so I've laid this out to some people before. I think I may have done that here in a post or something like that, or maybe in one of my videos. But I'll do it again because it's very interesting. I think blockchain and a blockchain linked card market has a very strong chance of, well, there's a lot of promise in terms of how it can create liquidity for a lot of frozen capital. So if you think about trading card, well, in fact, that is the strategy. That's what PSA is doing, number one, and now that's what PSA is trying to amplify with their partner with GameStop. They're GameStop. They are trying to create more liquidity in an illiquid, an illiquid frozen capital market. So if you think about trading cards, they're collectibles that right now they are highly valued. Okay, they're like, you know, those cards have been sitting on people's shelves for 25 years, like me, right? I have like 2,000 Pokemon cards, and some of them I think are probably like PSA 10s sitting in my basement back in the United States. They're like in my parents' house. Um, that's frozen capital. They're just sitting there, right? There is value contained in those cards that can be converted into liquidity, can be converted into um, dollars by moving those cards into the hands of a collector that would happily exchange capital for those cards, right? They will do that. Okay. Part of the thing about PSA, right, is PSA's business model is all about creating, removing knowledge costs. Okay. So if you think about just a card market and you think, okay, I have these cards, what do I do with them? Well, part of it is you have a thing called PSA that grades cards that, number one, lets you know that there are people out there who are interested in buying cards. Okay, you don't have to go out there, you don't have to do the research, you don't have to do eBay, you don't have to see, oh, are there people who think these are valuable? You don't have to ask that question. You come across PSA, you go, oh, hey, people like cards apparently. People like cards that are in good condition. I didn't know that. Okay, interesting. There's a company whose entire business is making sure that cards are in good condition, and preserving them for collectors. Huh, I didn't know that was a market, right? So PSA removes the knowledge cost of that and then offers services. Says, okay, then we'll further remove your knowledge cost. Are you someone who's interested in collecting cards? We will remove your knowledge cost. You pay us this amount of money, and then we'll remove the knowledge cost you have to pay in order to appraise quality cards. We will appraise it for you. We have a standardized grading system that you can rely on. So if you want cards appraised, that's fine. Or you know what, we're just going to give this to everybody. Everybody who wants to sell is going to put that into the market. It's going to be built into the cost of cards that then go into the market. But then they're going to have basically our brand on it, and they're going to have our grading scale, which is trustworthy. So you see our reputation, and with our reputation, we're going to lower everybody's knowledge costs with respect to the market. So now you've removed the knowledge costs, it means you've removed the cost to entry into that market. Okay, so the fact that, right, let's say you have cards, you go, oh, I can go get these graded and then sell these. Interesting, right? Your cost to entry into the market hugely down, because you can find that information out very easily, and the process is streamlined. Take cards, go to a grader, get them graded, put them on a marketplace, sell them, get your money. There you go. Okay. But now let's say, what would be the next step in terms of lowering the cost to entry that market? The next step is, well, it might be kind of annoying to go get your cards graded, right? Where's my nearest PSA grader? Okay, I got to find this out. Oh, there's one like an hour and a half away. I don't really go that way very often. Like, okay, I can take my cards out there, but like, man, that's going to be like a tank of gas. Go out there. I'd have to kind of make a day of this. Wait, how much is it per card? It's like $19 per card if it's in good condition. Well, all right, I'm only going to bring my cards that are in good condition then, so that, it's kind of worth it. But like, is this a PSA 8 or is this a PSA 10? I'm only going to know once I get them PSA graded. And I'm only going to know if that's going to be worth it. Like, if I get this, if this card's not that rare and it's a PSA 8, like maybe I get $20 for it, but I paid $20 to get it graded. So that's going to be a wash for me. But what about this one? Like, maybe this one's a 10. And so maybe I get like $500 for it. But then if I have 10 of these, I got to put up the capital of this. So just to even know that my cards are worth, a couple $100 a piece or not, I got to front a bunch of capital, and I got to drive all the way out to this place. And then I got to list it myself. Cost entry, right? That's a barrier. That's a barrier cost to entry for the market. Now you enter the partnership with GameStop. GameStop says, hey, we're way closer than that random licensed PSA grader that you have wherever. You've got a GameStop, 20 minutes down the road, or go to your local mall or something like that. They will grade your cards, right? They'll take care of it for you. You don't have to go find the PSA grader yourself. And what we'll do is, number one, if you're a member and you buy other stuff here, we'll give you a discount on the grading services. But number two, if this turns out to be a PSA 9 or a PSA 10, we will actually buy it from you on the spot. You do not have to go to the marketplace. We'll just do that for you. We'll give you cash now. And by the way, you don't have to put up any cash in the process of that transaction, right? So if in the traditional way of approaching a grader, you have to put up cash to the grader, and then you have to go and market the card yourself. GameStop says, not only do you not have to put up the cash, but if this is a really quality card, you can just sell it right to us, and then we'll just, back off the grading fee out of the cost that we acquire it. So no cash on your part, right? It requires no collateral from you, and the whole thing is taken care of. Boom, that's going to increase a lot more liquidity. That makes that a lot easier. Now imagine this. Now you create a gamified market that works like Robinhood, right? We already know that there are apps out there where people love doing digital card sales and all that. Now you come up with an app like Robinhood. It's gamified. You can trade, like, I don't know, maybe you do derivatives on these cards. I don't know, man. But whatever. But you tokenize this through a non-fungible token, right? You put out an NFT. You link the NFT to the card. PSA receives the card. You go get it graded. Now, GameStop says, okay, we'll grade this, and you have a couple options. You can sell this directly to us, and we'll still do that whole thing. But if you'd like to keep this, what we'll do is, if you give it to us, we'll grade your card. We will put it in the PSA vault. So PSA, who is experts at caring for this stuff, will store your physical card. We will issue you a non-fungible token on the blockchain. It's got a spot on the blockchain for this card. You're going to have that token. Now you just open your app. It's the GameStop, market app. And then you trade it. It's your token, your investment. You hold it like a stock. You visualize that on your charts and stuff like that. Yeah, I guess it's sort of like a consignment system, although they're not necessarily like the trick with consignment, right? Because like my dad owned a used to do consignment. He stopped doing consignment several years ago because it's just like you have to manage all this consignment debt, and you only kind of get a cut of what you sell, and it's like it's way better to have the cash up front and just acquire inventory and then sell it yourself. It's way better. Consignment's annoying and whatever. And part of it too is like people are kind of distrust you with consignment. People don't necessarily like consignment. People are like, well, I got to just let you hold on to this and then you market it for me. Right. I guess it technically is consignment, but the difference is with the NFT market is you don't wait for like the broker to sell it for you. Like an antiques dealer or something who's like, yeah, well, we'll get in touch with buyers. And it's like, no, it's all gamified. It's there on your phone. You're in charge of it. You run the market just like you do with stocks or options or whatever. And you do that. And you have the option, of course, to, self-directed consignment. That's a good way to talk about it. And the only fee that you pay the brokerage is, GameStop, is you pay the grading fee, the registration fee, and it gets stored in the PSA vault, and then you can trade it, and then you've got all these NFTs. And here's the thing too, unlike with share settlement stuff like that, you have kind of a DRS mechanism built in. PSA works as your DRS mechanism, and if you want to have your share, your card, your NFT delivered to you, you just say, I'd actually like to have my collectible. I'd like it displayed in my house. The token gets destroyed, and then PSA mails you your card, and there you go. Make that easy. You create a market, you run a market, you can run it like a broker. You get all the benefits of that you were prior doing for grading and acquiring these things. I think that makes sense to me based on what GameStop has done as to what they're doing with blockchain stuff. That may not be as exciting immediately as Bitcoin stuff. Of course, I could be wrong. Maybe BTC, maybe RC, just like maybe he's going to invest in MicroStrategy, like David's saying. He may already have, right? Foxen, what's his name? Foxen Flask over on X has a pretty good breakdown of the case of like maybe if Ryan Cohen has already invested in MicroStrategy, it's possible he's already done that. But I don't think that. I would sort of what seems more plausible to me at this stage is like David's saying here, the NFT use case, which is very practical, and then GameStop can also use that for video games. Because as far as I know, there aren't other, there's very limited use of blockchain for video games, and there's the huge sort of physical media issue. But part of it is like, if you have a digital copy of the game too, Like, let's think just pure GameStop doing this. Like, okay, I see the PSA partnership. You come in, you've got an Xbox game. You can store the game with GameStop. They'll hold on to the physical copy for you, and they'll issue you a digital copy, which you can use, fully licensed, because you own a physical copy, right? Remember how all the emulation stuff used to work with emulators, or with pirate copies? It's like, technically it's not illegal if you do own a physical copy of the game, because this is an iteration that's just been removed from the disk and just put on your hard drive for the emulation stuff. If you own a GameCube and you own Super Smash Brothers, it's not illegal for you to have a full GameCube on your computer emulated, and then have that emulation software run an instance of Super Smash Brothers, which is just not on the disk. It's not illegal to not have the operating system of the GameCube and the instance of Super Smash Brothers, which is on that disk. It's not illegal to have that removed from the physical hardware that you bought and put onto a different piece of hardware. It's illegal to distribute it or redistribute it or sell it or trade it or copy it or any of that, but it's not illegal to do that. So what would make sense to me too on the GameStop side of things would be, then you come in, like, you have a GameCube, you have Super Smash Brothers. You come to GameStop and you're like, hey man, like, I have this, but I'm not sure I don't know. I don't necessarily want that. Like, I want to actually keep the physical part of this. That's how I was a kid. I never wanted to sell my stuff. I got, there came a time where my mom was just like, sell your Super Nintendo. It has to get out of here. We can't have these games, clogging up stuff. And so I did, begrudgingly. But N64, I did that with my N64 too when I was a kid. But it's like, if you still have that stuff and you want it to run, and you show up, like, sometimes, right, cartridges stop working, something like that. GameStop, or the GameCube stuff, or Game Boy. There are Game Boy games, like, with the battery in them, right? Like, what was the, like, Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal, like, had an actual, like, battery and, like, clock in them, or the save games require this kind of internal battery in the cartridge, and those die, right? So you can come in and you can say, okay, hey, I have the physical media. Maybe can you hang on to this for me, and then put this in the vault, and I'll just pay like a one-time fee or something to issue me a digital license, and then it's linked to a non-fungible token. So even if something happens to my physical media, even if it doesn't go in the vault, but can you just issue me this, give me that tokenized? I don't know, maybe then you can trade it too, but then you have it, and then you can, you can use that. So, there are potential uses for that. I haven't, like, the collectibles one, right? The trading card one makes kind of better sense to me, but maybe with physical media, with like game collectibles, you can do the same thing if it has the collectible element to it. That's right, David. Yeah. This whole thing is like, hey, this is how this can work. You can do that with art. You can do that with anything collectible. You can do that. And you can make that a more, what would you say? For many people, a more palatable market to trade in. You can take that away you can take away a sizable amount of trading activity from Wall Street, right? I mean, that's the whole Bitcoin thing, or that's the whole, like, meme coin thing, I should say. Not necessarily Bitcoin. Bitcoin is kind of in a class of its own. But the meme coin thing, right? There are a lot of people who are just like, screw Wall Street. I'm not going to deal with that stuff. I just want to go do tokens. It doesn't matter. It's a token. But it's connected to a meme that I think is cool, right? You can do that with collectibles. Like, watch, Charizard tokens, through GameStop's NFT marketplace just go nuts. And they're like, but the thing is, it's like, oh, I trade Charizards, but they're tokens that map to actual Charizards, and the settlement thing is known, and you can't rug the Charizards. But we know that people love Charizards, and people will keep buying Charizards, and they will have historical appreciation. They will appreciate as collectibles, and you can visualize that real time. That's going to be a lot. That's certainly a lot secure market. How many people would rather trade Charizards than, Cumcoin? And I mean, people will still trade Cumcoin, but You know, how many people will do that instead of, oh, let me screw around with Robinhood's overnight market with, you know, Zomedica. You know, I don't know. I think that's kind of the idea there. That's kind of the concept. Like, let's put it out there and give people the option and see if they do trade this, because they certainly want their Pokemon cards. Yeah. Ooh, Andrew. So new Bottom Finder 2.0 is out from Ultimator. Thank you for letting us know. Is it did he say if it's different, or did he say if it's just the same thing reissued? David, I like your sense of humor, man. I'll try to get that in the next video. I'll just every video begins with me with that spiel about Charizards just in a straight monologue. Every video. S&P 500 too. Very cool. I'll have to check that out. Let's see. Can we find it now? Did he just talk about it on his X page? We can do a little share here. Sharing is caring. Oh no, it's the Ultimator. That's right. Yeah. Let's see. Undo the share once more here. Ah, okay. So he's also releasing an RSI smoother to try to get tops too. So yeah, so this is yeah. So he's describing accuracy versus. So yeah, the RSI smoother is you know, it's probably like RSI. I'll have to take a look at that. That's new. But yeah, he's got the GME bottom finder, and apparently it works for SPY too. So check that out. He's got a link there over on his site. So go check him out. Go play around with that. Be careful. Be careful. It's easy to, just as you can lose money scalping with other indicators or doing options with other indicators, right? You can absolutely lose money with this. Never perfect, but you know. So yeah, just kind of, I guess, wrap off our Ryan Cohen thoughts here. You know, I imagine this makes me think like, wait, where's his follows? Up here? This feels like kind of a little bit of a troll to me with this, right? I mean, all these headlines coming out saying that GameStop's going to purchase Bitcoin, and then he just follows Bitcoin Magazine, hinting at something perhaps blockchain related, but I don't know about direct acquisition of Bitcoin at this point. This is certainly interesting. This makes me think he's hinting at a merger and acquisition coming out soon. Oh, look, it's my quote. That's my. You guys can go like my Clippy comment if you like. 27 likes. People liked it. Yeah. I'm a bit of a Twitter shill myself. So yeah, I think really like we'll see some chop. We'll see probably quite a lot of chop heading into March here. If we do get this kind of broader market sell-off now, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if we kind of grinded in this area. I mean, what's very interesting is that the 200-day moving average is really picking up. Like it's really kind of cruising, right? It's at 20, at 25. Yeah, because look, we haven't been below this entire time. We haven't been below 25. So we got a little bounce there. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that again, some kind of 25. But this is it too. Like, what are we at? It's at 25.12, man. It's at 25.12. That's incredible that it's that high. You know, if we can get, well, this is what Richard's talking about, right? Richard, in some of his most recent videos, has talked about basically what he's looking at. Oh, wait, you can't see my chart here. No, you can. Right, Richard, of course, here is talking about looking at basically how he thinks in particular that perhaps Ryan Cohen over on this daily chart here, maybe Ryan Cohen or Roaring Kitty are looking at you know, Kitty's momentum oscillator. Maybe they have their own version of this, but you know, looking at maybe timing up some of their stuff to basically maybe align with some of these key movements in this kind of momentum stuff. And then if we do get something like this, if this kind of follows through on the daily or the weekly, right? If you can get these kind of daily things to kind of cascade into the weekly, then we might see, you know, an event like this again out of March. So if earnings is really huge, if it kind of spoils some of these swap rolls or something like that, maybe we do really see a, you know, parabolic movement back up into the, you know, kind of 60 area, something like that. Maybe, right? If we look at these as kind of like bloop, 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 and then one more, you know, bloop, bloop, up here, you know, top of 60, come down to like 40. I have not, that's interesting, David. I have not tried Elliott waves. I know people who do Elliott wave theory stuff. I have not done them. Yeah. March 28th, I think Richard says he suspects there is a swap date then. We'll have to see if that pops up on Ultimator's thing, especially here on the daily. Yeah. Yeah, we do have a lot of strength. And we're so close to the bottom here. Like that's kind of, I'm a little, you know, hesitant too with some of my going in kind of hard on covered calls down here. Because it's like, oh, it looks like we look really close to kind of starting to move back to the upside. And I know, right, like, you know, these guys will do things to manipulate the price so that, you know, so that options close out of the money. But like even still, it's like, when this thing starts chugging, will it do that in March? Maybe. I mean, this range here is from March to May. So this arc, if we get another kind of thing here, right? We start taking off, right? If we trade kind of up in this area, wait, you can't see my cursor. In this area, right? If we just kind of scrub a dub, and then basically we kind of start moving up in here, see maybe 30, kind of try to move back toward 30 by early May. We could do that. And then see if we really get enough momentum to kind of break out. Basically, part of what caused the second half of this formation, right, like we talked about, was the Roaring Kitty and Ryan Cohen 1-2 punch there. That's what caused the second sort of leg of this, the continuation for basically a full kind of 70-day period rather than just 35. So that could happen again here. See this 35 kind of thing play out. That should take us, yeah, that should take us right up to earnings. And then if that's good, right, we kind of go up, maybe tease 30 again, and then kind of try to then move down, move kind of back in here, and then surprise. And then the surprise takes us back up. Try this again. Don't know. I won't speculate at this point, but there'll certainly be stuff for us to keep an eye on. Yeah, good thoughts, David. I don't know exactly what Elliott waves track, or like what that is behind them, or whether they're, are they symbolic? Like, what is it supposedly, what underlying elements do Elliott waves claim to track? I'm not sure about that. Yeah, the long-term strategy of having cash is always, hey, that's my strategy, is, have cash. Hey man, how are you gonna succeed? Like, all the things you need to do in life, like, have a family, and, raise kids, and, eat on a day-to-day basis, and have a place to live. And I go, don't worry, dude, I'm gonna have cash, and then all my problems end. So there you go, guys. Follow my strategies, like and subscribe for more just like this. Coming up on our next live stream, have cash. But really, there are lots of opportunities, and cash does help you take advantage of those. Not to belittle High Fly's comment here. Yeah. Okay. I think that's going to bring us to conclusion for today. What I would like to do this weekend, I want to try experimenting with doing another live stream on the weekends, on Sundays, in particular, to talk about some things. I think, like, I really liked last week that we had the chance, and a little bit today, to talk about stuff that's kind of like, it is related. For example, like theories of knowledge and things like this, things that I use on a regular basis, that I would say were necessary for me to develop and explore before I got into, before I was able to build my particularly successful trading strategies. And really, right, I would consider the way that I organized, like when I first started, part of what made my trading unsuccessful was the way that I had organized my life, and sort of what my approach was to everything from relationships to what I was aiming for, to how I thought about myself, to how I thought about, how I behaved or lived in the world. Like, all of that was not in alignment with the type of strategy that I developed. And I was only able to grasp this strategy and be able to have this success, like do what I do now, because I spent several years basically answering some of these questions and organizing my life and kind of figuring out the way that I thought about stuff, um, in the particular way that I do now. So I'd like this next opportunity, this idea for the second one, to be a little bit less specifically about GameStop, to do it on Sunday, and yeah, to just kind of read through some stuff that I find, gives me an opportunity, right? Opens up kind of a door into how I was able to apply that kind of structure to my life. And so I think, yeah, so we'll start this weekend, and yeah, we'll work from there. So check out, yeah, keep posted on Twitter. I'll figure out a time. I want to figure out a time that's a little bit different than this one, so that we can get probably US and EU crowd, and also it not be, like 2 o'clock in the morning for me, just for now, while I'm still in Asia. So check that out. I think we'll try to do something like, what would it be? It'd be like 2 p.m. in the EU, maybe morning Eastern time, so that it'd be early evening for me, or something like that. I think that's what we'll aim at. So provisionally, we'll say like eight's a little early, maybe 3 p.m. So maybe like 9 Eastern time, something like that. So it'd be Sunday morning for US folks. It'd be Sunday afternoon for EU folks, and it'd be, evening for me here, but not crazy late. So yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for another wonderful live stream. I always love hearing your comments, questions. Very good, you guys. Every time we have one of these, every time you guys comment on my videos, it helps make me a better thinker, and it helps me explain the things that I'm thinking on a regular basis more frequently. You guys have great ideas, so keep them coming. I always love talking to you guys. So we'll see you. Yeah, if you want to, go ahead and, yeah, always happy to, right? Always happy to have more people. Always happy to get new voices in here. Always happy to get new perspectives. So, yeah, if you think this would benefit, people, other users, other GameStop investors, then by all means, go ahead and share this. Go ahead and like, and yeah, we'll see you guys on Sunday. So, Take care now.